to find out, but I found out. Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh, now I can hear it. Me now, she's around me now, almost all the time. And if I'm well, you can tell she's been with me now. She's been with me now quite a long, long time, and I feel fine. Every now and then, the things I lean on lose a meaning, and I find myself careening to places where I should not let me. Little darling, and it's been a long, hard, coldly winter. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, dee-doo-doo-doo. Here comes the sun, sun, I say it's alright. Little darling, and the smiles return into the faces. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Sun, 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 here it comes. Little darling, I feel the ice is slowly melting. Little darling, it seems like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun, here comes the sun, and I say it's alright.
Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Chattanooga. My name is the Reverend Mandy Goheen. My pronouns are she, her, and it is my great pleasure to serve this congregation both here and far away. Welcome. Whatever body you bring today, do you bring a young body, a tired body, an achy body, a fat body, a thin body, a somebody in between body, a body in this space, a body online? Welcome here. Welcome to touch base with your body. Our opening words are by James Joyce from the Dubliners. Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. Anybody feel that sometimes, that we don't quite feel like we're living in our bodies? There has been a narrow definition of beauty imposed on people. Bodies are our outside expression many times, and sometimes these bodies don't always feel comfortable, and sometimes these bodies don't always feel welcome, but today, you are welcome here, however you live in your body, and you are invited to not live a short distance from it during this service. Our opening song, before we get started, was written by Libby Roderick in 1988. I like 1988. I graduated from high school that year. What did I forget? Oh, I forgot the candle. Oh, my goodness, chalice lighting. Thank goodness, though, let me say that we have our new affiliated community minister who just reminded me that it is time for our chalice lighting. And in order to celebrate her ordination yesterday and who she is to this community, I invite Reverend Pam Johnson forward to light our chalice. Thank goodness she reminded me. Please join me in the words in our order of service. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And now, I will go back to 1988. The amazing thing about the song, How Could Anyone, was that people latched onto it. This song has been played on Anderson Cooper's 360 when discussing teen suicide. It has been all kinds of places, but my favorite place that the lyrics of this song have ever shown up is Princess Diana would wear a t-shirt to go work out that had the lyrics of this song on it. And I thought that was really important for today as we talk about being all kinds of bodies who exercise and do work. So please rise in body and or spirit and join me in the teal hymnal number 1053, How Could Anyone?
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell How could anyone
Our story for all ages today is going to require some help. So we're going to practice something really quickly before we move forward. And the line I need you to help me practice is, that I can't find, you are never alone. Can we say this? You are not alone. You are not alone. Ready? Let's try it. You are not alone. You are not alone. Okay, here we go. Tiny the God by Becky Brooks. Once upon a time, there was a tiny little, itty bitty, very small, tiny little God named Tiny. She lived her life hearing stories of all the big gods, and well, let's face it, she was jealous. She knew she needed to think of some kind of special spark of an idea that would make her existence meaningful. And after watching humans for a long time, she hit upon something that just might work. Something to make people think, yeah, that Tiny really has a good idea going. This was it. This was going to make her famous. Are you ready? Remember what she said? You are not alone. She took the form of a very light breeze and the voice so quiet that each person heard it only in their mind. And she said, you are not alone. You are not alone. People loved it. It was perfect because who doesn't want to hear that, right? Pretty soon, Tiny was comforting people all over the world with her words, you are not alone. Every evening, she took the form of the breeze and whispered it into people's minds until one day, she encountered someone who wasn't comforted at all. When Miriam heard Tiny's words in her mind, instead of feeling comforted, she felt agitated. Something was just kind of about it. She kept saying it to herself over and over again, you are not alone, you are not alone, and she tossed and turned and she couldn't sleep. In the morning, she went to read the newspaper, and instead of skimming everything, she found herself drinking in every single story. She was only halfway through when she found herself crying, I am not alone. I am not alone. And she said, I'm connected to every one of these people. They live in my town, in my country, my world. They love their children like I love mine. They're scared, and sometimes so am I. They hurt like I hurt. I am not alone. I can help. Tiny was surprised. It hadn't occurred to her that someone might think of it this way. Tiny kept watch over Miriam, monitoring this interesting development. Miriam and co-workers met online and in meetings and talked about the law they hoped the Senate would pass. And Tiny noticed when Miriam wrote letters to her senator about it right away. She noticed when Miriam turned in her grocery order, she bought a few extra things for her neighbors and left them on their porches with colorful notes. She noticed Miriam had tears in her eyes when she joined her congregation's worship on her computer, and she heard the favorite hymns through the small speaker. Miriam got out her phone and made an extra donation to the congregation that day. She watched as Miriam wrote postcards to friends and family near and far away, waved to the dog walkers who passed her house, and strung colorful lights in her living room window. But most importantly, for Tiny, she noticed that when Miriam received a phone call one evening from a friend she hadn't heard from in a long while, his voice was shaking. He said, "I'm having a hard time." He started to tell her about his troubles, but he began to cry. Miriam got herself comfortable in her favorite chair and said, "Take your time. I'll stay on the line with you. You are not alone. I am here." I am here. Tiny heard those words like an echo in her mind. You are not alone. I am here. So let's add that. You are not alone. I am here. You are not alone. I am here. In that moment, Tiny knew she was nothing without Miriam's hands and heart and spirit. She knew that what she wanted was what the world needed more than anything was what Miriam had learned to give. So Tiny went to work, and instead of just spending her evenings spreading the gospel of you are not alone, she spent her night times doing it too, and her mornings and afternoon, and pretty soon she was spending every moment until she became the breeze itself. And that's why there are no paintings of Tiny the God, no busts or holy books, just breeze and a low voice and many, many helping hands, loving hearts and caring spirits. You can hear her echo if you listen closely. You are not alone, I am here. Let's say it together. You are not alone, I am here. When water bottles are left in the desert for those who risk their lives to cross it, you are not alone, I am here. In the jailhouse and in the sanctuary, you are not alone, I am here. Separate and together, you are not alone, I am here. And may it be so. It's time for our youth to head on downstairs. Anyone high school age or below, is invited to join Camille and Sally back there, to go downstairs for religious education. And we are going to sing them out.
Go your way in peace. Wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take. May love guide you on your way.
I know for a fact this is some of your favorite point in the service, where we take a deep breath and we get into meditation. We change our perspective. I'm inviting you to put things down and to get comfortable. And if your hands are willing and able, use them for this meditation. Touch your hands to your own forehead if it feels natural. May you be blessed with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. May your intellect take you far on your journey. You have been blessed with reason and free will. It is your call every day to use these gifts. Placing your hands on your throat. May you be blessed with voice. May you learn the complex nature of truth-telling. The ability to speak the truth in love is something that requires honesty, empathy, and care. You are challenged every day to seek joy that comes with sharing your truth and compassion, as well as listening to others. Let's put our hands on our hearts. May our hearts be full and blessed with love. May you know the agony of heartbreak, and it's intertwined with the elation of true love. Your heart is strong and resilient, one that will be with you till the end of your time on earth. May you heed the wisdom of your heart and always trust the truth it tells. Now we're going to touch our bellies. Abdomen. You are blessed with a gift of sexuality. May you always remember that you are a beloved child of God. Your body is sacred and belongs to you alone. May you live into the full expression of your identity as a human being, embracing your true sexual gender identity. The gift of sexuality brings with its many rewards as well as great responsibilities. May you always retain the power over your own being, striving towards mutually fulfilling and just relationships. And your hands. When you were a baby, your tiny hands were your first contact with the world. Before you could see more than a few feet in front of you, you grasped the fingers of your loved ones. You catch yourself with your hands when you fall. You express love and comfort to others with them too. May your hands be gentle and strong. May you use them to carry the light into dark places and rest to the weary. May your hands always find the place of greatness and where they are needed, beginning with your own needs. And may the Creator of all things hold you in the palm of her hand wherever you go. And now we're going to give ourselves a hug. Wrap your arms around your body. May you be blessed on your journey. May you remember that growth happens on the journey and that you're never alone. May you always remember that you're a whole person, that each of these parts work together. We offer our blessings upon your body, your mind, and your spirit. May you be guided by compassion and truth, justice and love. May you find rest on the journey, always remembering where you came from, being mindful that your ancestors are standing with you wherever they are present on earth and wherever you are present, or have gone back to the soul of the world. May you be blessed in all things and carry the blessing with you wherever you may go. And now is the time in our service where I invite folks forward. And Pam, would you come up? Reverend Pam Johnson, please come up and help people light a candle for their joys and concerns. And we'll light an extra one for those unspoken, and we'll light one for the folks online joining us today. Please come forward. Spirit of love and life, hold all that we have lit candles for today. Hold all that we were not ready to light candles for today. And hold us in the times when we might need to light a candle this week. So, this is the sermon part. And I want to talk about BMI. Aren't you excited? I'm going to talk to you about it up to 18 minutes. That should be okay. If we talk about it for up to 25 minutes, that's overtime. If we get into the 45 minutes time, well, that's just morbid, right? I love my job. I know I say this all the time, but I have gone on this amazing journey. Today I wanted to talk about body positivity. I wanted to talk about my journey trying to be a thin person and some of the medical issues I've had from that and how I've been treated by doctors, because I think it's important to talk about that. I also want to talk about how my mind has changed and I love my body in a different way than I used to. But when I said I love my job, I discovered something I didn't know in researching for this sermon, which is my favorite. Body mass index began before eugenics. Let that sink in for a minute. Eugenics. Eugenics was the study of how to arrange reproduction within human populations to increase the occurrence of heritable characteristics regarded as desirable. Developed largely by Sir Francis Galton as a method of improving the human race, eugenics was increasingly it's unscientific, and it's radically biased, and it's especially attached to by the Nazis later. The person who invented BMI he was trying to measure populations. He was looking specifically at Scottish and French men. And we still use those numbers to make a judgment about whether people are healthy or not, whether it is desirable to be in that body. So I have a BMI that is high enough that I am considered morbidly obese. Now, who loves to go to the doctor and hear that the minute they walk in the door? Not me. So the first thing I do is I go into the doctor and I am weighed, which is embarrassing. And they always comment 1, 2, 3, 4 pounds up and down every time. The next thing that happens to me is I get a blood pressure cuff put on. I have big arms. It hurts. I'm not going to the doctor to be hurt. In fact, the only comorbidity, because we love that word, I have of being overweight is as a 53-year-old, I have high blood pressure. Wait, other people who are thin have high blood pressure at 53, right? So that is it. But on my insurance requires my doctor to consult me about diet and exercise every single time I go to the doctor, no matter if it's for an ear infection, if it's for allergies, if it's for ADHD, if it's for anything. I am weighed, and my doctor allegedly discusses diet and exercise. Well, we had a little coming to meeting when we first met, my doctor and I. And I was like, you know what? I've been on a diet since I was 11. I would prefer you didn't consult me about diet and exercise. And bless her, she lies every time to insurance and says that she does. So I'm very happy about that. But if I hadn't stood up for myself and said, look, I understand my body better than maybe you do, she would be talking to me about nutrition and exercise. I, about 5 years ago, read an article called Everything You Ever Learned About Diet is a Lie. And for whatever reason, you know how you get that one thing that finally flips your brain? That flipped my brain, me. It made me stop judging myself, stop being disgusted by myself, because that's what we're taught in society, right? Any bodies that aren't typical are gross. Those people must be lazy. Those people don't know how to eat. They don't eat healthy food. But I'm telling you, I'm not sure that in 8th grade eating tuna fish with mustard on saltine crackers in middle school cafeteria was me eating healthy food. And the damage that did to me, being told over and over and over again that I was an identity, I was fat, hurt me and made me take risks with my body that I would have never taken. I have an Achilles tendon replacement from trying to run in this body so that it wouldn't be this body. When I was prepared for that surgery, I was in a military spouse at the time and went to Maxwell Air Force Base Clinic. Can I tell you that is the most fat-shaming place there is? I'm sure there are other ones. But if you're in a clinic where everybody is fit for the Air Force and you're the dumpy wife that walks through, they're going to make some recommendations and they're going to talk to you about your body mass index. And they're not going to always be nice about it. So they referred me to the Veterans Administration Podiatry Clinic, blah, 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 and they were going to do it. And I went to the last appointment before my surgery, and the doctor weighed me and said, "We can't do surgery. Your BMI is 1 point over what's acceptable." You know how hard it is to get ready for surgery? I bet some of y'all have done that or been there with a loved one getting ready for a big thing. Like I was getting ready to be in a cast for 6 months. Like this was a big deal. Thank goodness for athletes. I bet you wouldn't thought I was going to say that. Thank goodness, because when the VA rejected me, I was sent to sports medicine. And they're used to bigger bodies. Athletes all the time have huge BMIs because of their muscle mass and their weight compared to their height. And so the sports medicine guy actually was the best guy for me. He was used to people with my body structure and doing surgery. I am happy to say it's done. It actually improved my stance. It improved everything to get the Achilles tendon replaced. I was walking with a cane before that. And I was gaining weight because I was walking with a cane because I was not getting around. And I was going to seminary and flying on airplanes with a cane. It was really, really hard and awkward. And I know anybody who deals with limited mobility and pain, my empathy is much deeper. So I do have gratitude for that. Do you know that the little affinity groups you have at colleges, the cool ones like the people of color affinity group and the queer affinity group, and there are all these wonderful little groups of kids on campuses getting together and doing justice, gay straight alliance, like all these wonderful things. And when they try to do a group for people who are fat to love their bodies, nobody comes. Allies come, but fat people don't, because we have been taught to detest ourselves as much as anybody else who glances at us and makes judgment. We make the same judgments. We internalize that. There's something called implicit bias, and it goes along with eugenics. It goes along with the way our brain is trained to see beauty, what we identify as something important and beautiful and appealing. And implicit bias comes in racism a lot. It explains why teachers make mistakes and pick on a kid who might be different. It explains some of the stuff in the doctor's office, the implicit bias. I was implicitly biased against people's bodies, especially my own. And there is a practice that has helped me feel better about myself and helped me feel better about other people and recognize the beauty in them. Because the other thing I did not just judge other folks who were fat like me, I judged thin, fit people too and resented them. And I would see a woman running with a beautiful, typical body, and I would go, ugh, must be nice to have that body. And then I had this little awakening. She didn't deserve that. no more than I did. And so I started practicing. I noticed her body because I admired it. She was out running and taking care of herself. I started noticing other bodies too. I started noticing my own body. And the things that I didn't like about it, remember the arms that don't quite do the blood pressure cuff? I started looking at them in the mirror and saying, I love you. I started practicing. Just like I had practiced breaking my implicit bias about racism when my kids were little, and I would look in these babies' eyes and say, I love you. I started saying, I love you to myself. I started saying, I love you to anyone that I would see and judge, and not be like, oh, they must be lazy, or they must be this, or they must be that. Just love people. And it started making me feel better and better and better about myself. But it also a little judgy sometimes about people on diets, so I'm still working on that. And a matter of fact, there's a singer, Adele. Does anybody know who she is? She just lost a lot of weight. And the first thing I thought when I saw the cover of, I think it was Vogue or something fancy, with a big red dress and just thin and beautiful, I thought, how dare she? I was like, whoa, you're getting mean again. How could you betray us like that? You were amazing the way you were. And then I started to pay attention to my own body and what was going on with me again. Since I have rejected the idea of dieting, I have rejected the idea that I have to eat breakfast if I'm not hungry. I have to eat it all if I'm not hungry. I started eating healthier foods less often, not because I was on a diet, just because I was almost separating myself from food in a way that was getting unhealthy again. Like, I don't need to eat. I'll just take a nap. I'll just watch some TV. I'll wait an hour. When I am hungry, rejecting listening to my body and waiting. I was doing that because, once again, that doctor who I like so much had told me that both my cholesterol and A1C were high. And I had been worried because of my husband's cancer diagnosis that I would start eating because of it. Start comforting myself with food. It's a normal response for me. I grew up in a house where food wasn't always available, but Grandma always had cookies. And that would make me feel better. And so I had to make a conscious choice not to eat when my father died. Not to eat about my husband being ill. Not to eat because my kid is gone somewhere being silly. I had to make a conscious decision to love myself. I started going to the chiropractor. I started walking more with the dogs. I started challenging myself to use more stairs. And something really weird happened. The more I told myself I wasn't obligated to eat a piece of cake or obligated to socialize with food or comfort myself with it, it started to become yummy again. Like the things because I only was eating what I really liked. I really love fresh eggs. Obviously, I have a bunch of chickens, right? Like, I really love the taste of stuff grown in the garden. A tomato is just like the best. I love ice cream. It's cool. I really love it. I like cupcake. I like all kinds of things. But something shifted in me, and I don't know if it was that I'm going to stand my ground and I'm not going to eat about sad things, but it's made a shift in me. And I think part of that is because I've also shifted how I love myself along the way. I love myself enough that I had some darn good ice cream last night. I love myself enough that it's worth it. And I shouldn't feel bad or guilty. Because that's another thing that happens to us folks who are morbidly whatever, is every time we're at a potluck or a place where food is being celebrated, I watch. And here's what I see. I see us at the end of the line. We stand back and let everyone else go first. And it was so bad for one of my friends that she would not eat She would eat a carrot stick, what you do. And she would take the food home that was given at the end, and as soon as everyone was gone and she was alone, she would eat everything she took home, even though she'd only had carrot sticks and something that, probably a piece of cake, I would hope. Denying ourselves pleasure, that's the thing about bodies. Our bodies like to feel good. Denying ourselves the pleasure of a bite of cake because we're afraid someone is watching is not Unitarian Universalist. We have to treat ourselves as if we have inherent worth and dignity. We have to do that by loving ourselves. Karma applies not to just how you treat other people, it's how you treat yourself, right? We have to stop projecting judgment on people for not being in the perfect, ideal body that has been prescribed by the media. And we have to start thinking about what's great about that person. Because when you only focus on the outside, imagine how much you're missing. What if we only focused on the outside of Lizzo, who's also an amazing musician? And Lizzo has a practice that I think is a little awkward, but I kind of love it. She loves her belly. She tells it she loves it, and she rubs it, and she makes friends with her body. It's what we got to be in this world. This is our body. It's powerful. It can be broken. It can hurt. But it also is how we love people. It's how we tell people they're not alone. So my challenge for us is to start catching those thoughts, not just when we're judging other people, but when we're judging ourselves. And practice reversing that implicit bias we have about bodies. And stop assuming people are lazy or not smart or just not right. Nobody walks up to somebody and says, "Hi, you're diabetic." But we are fat. It's not something we can hide. Or we're thin. People who are thin get just as much crap from doctors about BMI. One last thing. And I'm going to talk about something Camille just told me in the office this morning. And I'm sure since she said it out loud, I can share it. So she went to the doctor. Camille is our lovely religious education director. And just her laugh fills a room. She's magnificent. And the doctor said to her, "Your BMI is 1 point over ideal. Don't you want to have babies?" So if you don't think people say stuff like that, well-meaning, you're wrong. Also, one piece of advice for anyone: don't tell anyone how to get better. If they're diabetic, just be there with them. If they're overweight and struggling on a diet, trying to become a different shape, be there with them. Don't tell them how. Trust yourself to be experts on your own bodies, and trust other people to be experts on their own bodies. Remember to love yourself, and remember to check in with your body. Remember not to be like Mr. Duffy, who lived a short distance from his body. Remember to live in it and be proud of it and do the work that it's made to do. And if you're a Unitarian Universalist, that's to love the world. May it be so. Thank you. And it is time for our offertory. And if you are visiting today, you can just fold your hands and let the offering plate pass you by. If you are not visiting, please dig as deep as you'd love to. Everything helps us, no matter if it's $1, no matter if it's $1 million, if you just have that in your wallet. We are working very hard here to reopen and get this church going again. Wake it back up. I hear from people, where is everybody? What is going on? And we're here. Some of us are online. Some of us are in the room. I've noticed different people coming every Sunday, so we kind of have a revolving crowd. That's probably just us being cautious about pandemic. But what's happening is there's a few volunteers and staff doing a lot of the work. And if we're going to continue to do that, then y'all are going to have to share your treasure a little bit more because we're getting tired. And I want to say something about sharing talent and treasure really quick. Reverend Pam's ordination yesterday was amazing. And the volunteers like Dady and Jen and Marge Pash and Christian and Selena and everyone running around still weren't quite enough to get everything done. We have got to put our energy, our time, talent, and treasure in this place because it is worth it. One of the ministers visiting yesterday said to me, "This place is critical for Chattanooga. This place is a place of sanctuary and a place where people can really be who they are." And that is what your offering goes to, our mission to care and love each other and let people know that they're not alone. And it will be gratefully received. Please join me in our offertory response that can be found in your order of service, but not in my pile of papers. Can you tell it's my first day back after a while? Whew, okay. Almost forgot the chalice. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. To this work, we dedicate our offerings. Thank you. And now, we are going to get in our bodies a little bit. So if you're at home or in the sanctuary and you feel like getting up and dancing, I think we're going to get up and do a little dancing. This is When the Spirit Says Do, number 1024. And it was sang at a lot of rallies for justice during the civil rights movement. And I think that loving our bodies is justice and civil rights. So please rise, sing, have fun, and let's do When the Spirit Says Do.
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Let's sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 Let's dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you better dance, oh Lord. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. Come on now. Spirit says dance. 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 Back to do for our last one. You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. And when the Spirit says do, you better do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 When the Spirit says do.
I didn't say I could dance. I didn't say I could dance, just I had to dance. So, huh?
You're a great dancer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you told me that. I didn't know. So it's time to extinguish our chalice. Reverend Pam, would you please come forward? And I'm never going to be able to say that enough. And let's join me in the chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. So what? So what did we learn today? So did you know that you don't have to be weighed when you go to the doctor? You can tell them that you would prefer not to be weighed. Do you know people of any body size can do that? And the more we do that together, the more it won't be frowned on when somebody who has a quote-unquote high BMI goes in and doesn't want to be weighed. Do you know that you can get justice one tiny bit at a time by just loving yourself and making parameters? When I go to the doctor now, I insist that they use the manual blood pressure cuff on me. Because when they use the manual blood pressure cuff on me, my blood pressure is so much lower because nothing's squeezing me to death. Right? Advocate for your bodies. Love yourself and love other people. It makes the whole world a lot more fun. So go out and love the world this week. And that's all. That's so what. I do have an announcement. This is an exciting announcement and a tiny bit terrifying, those of you online and here in the room. I am going to start selling raffle tickets next week. But, oh, I know it's terrible, but it's going to be for something very specific. Whoever's name gets drawn gets to pick the sermon that week. 1 week I get. So we're going to be selling raffle tickets for $5 each starting next week. You can buy as many as you want. The money we're raising is going to be used to help us fund guest speakers this year. It's part of the Wowzers, and it's also Wowzers is working on worship. It's the group of folks who worked very tirelessly all summer to have worship while I was off. They bring guest speakers and choose who's going to speak. They also help other RE a little bit, and people who are doing service is the Wowzers. It's a great, great committee. If you think you want to light the chalice or do any kind of part of service, let me know. But if you want to be involved more broadly, Wowzers is for you. Charlotte Olson, could you please stand up for a moment? Charlotte is the chair of Wowzers, and she would love to have you. So we're going to start selling tickets for $5 each. Bring your $5 bills next week. and buy as many as you want and think of all the silly things that you might want, or serious, or hard, or baffling things you might want me to preach about. And we'll work together the week before the service. That service is 4 weeks after the raffle starts. My dates have drained out of my head. So that's all I got. Pam, do you have an announcement?
I do.
Do you have a mic she can borrow? Oh, wait. Here comes our lovely tech assistant. Oh, look at this beautiful human coming up here with a microphone. Thank you.
I was gifted with beautiful flowers from Selena's garden, and I obviously cannot take them all home. So if you would like a bouquet of flowers, or you know of someone who would be brightened by that, the two vases over here, you can take those. You don't have to bring the vase back. If you want to, that's fine, but it's not a big deal. I paid $1 for them at the thrift store. Or either of these on the outside, you are welcome to take those. This one is in my vase, and I'm going to take it home.
Judith, come on up.
I have to tag on to your sermon just a bit. And since Selena's not here, I don't think she's here, I just want to put a plug in for the Social Justice Committee and the Green Sanctuary. We're still working on getting more informed and more activated about the environment. So next Sunday at 9:30, there will be an environmental speaker from the Southern Environmental Law Center. We have a Social Justice Committee meeting after the service next week if you'd like to come. And one of the things that I'm learning that your sermon really brought up for me is part of the reason we're not as involved in global warming as we could be is because we're not in touch with our bodies. Our bodies are the earth, and the earth is our body. So thank you for the sermon, and if you want to learn more about this, coming in beginning the end of September and through October, we're going to have a series of classes about the environment. It will be a time for you to think about maybe some new things, but also to share what's your experience. So thank you.
You can have it forever. I'm kidding. Oh, she wants another. Oh.
Sorry, quick PS.
Ordain you. And
I'm not sure whose vase this is, so bring this one back.
Okay. Oh, my gosh.
So I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to share their time. You may have noticed there was no coffee when you got here this morning. That's because nobody was signed up to do coffee today. There is coffee back there now, but we could definitely use some more help back there.
Oh, one more.
I just wanted to make a comment on your service and the body thing. I have found out how to reduce my BMI. When you go to the doctor, they weigh you, and then they ask you, how tall are you? Tell them you're much taller than you really are, and your BMI will go down.
Well, we always like a good action item, Sandy. Thank you. I am 6'7", and I'm gonna reach stuff on the top shelves today. So thank you, and thank you all for joining us today. There is New UU 101 after the service. We probably spend about 30 minutes talking about membership in this church if you're interested in joining. And look at the back of your order of service for things coming up. And we're just so glad you brought your bodies today and came here. Have a wonderful week and much love.